I'm Herb Schroeder. I founded the Alaska Native Science and Engineering program in 1995, and I'm a professor of engineering at the University of Alaska in Anchorage. And the way AMP fits in here is AMP is the undergraduate portion of the Alaska Native Science and Engineering program, and it was really the first piece of this longitudinal model that we had developed since 1995. I know the Colorado AMP is pretty big, but you know, that's small potatoes for Alaska. So I like to lay this map on top of what we call the 48 at home, or we call outside at home, just so that you can get a sense of what it's like. There's about 600,000 people here, maybe a little more. There's no roads in this place. And when I started, I couldn't find an Alaska Native kid in the state who had successfully completed trigonometry in high school. And I set out then to effect this systemic change in hiring patterns for Alaska Natives in the science and engineering professions. And I'll go into a lot more detail about that when I talk again at lunchtime about how we did this. But what AMP did for us at home was to catalyze development of a whole longitudinal model where we now start with 5th and 6th grade kids, and we can take them all the way through the PhD. I had one student in 1995, and right now there's 1,250 students and alumni in this pipeline, about 290 now students who've graduated with BS degrees. One of the first things I recognized was that in order to keep my kids safe on the campus, we're going to have a place. So I organized a group of partner organizations, and they provided us with this building that's become our home. And one of my students, she was adamant that it had to shout Native, because as she said it, people have told us we can't be here, and we're here, and we're not leaving, and we want to be in their face. And so they built it like a canoe. Another thing that we recognized we'd need if we were going to institutionalize this long term would be for the students to have a faculty advocate in perpetuity. And once again, our partners pulled together and provided us with $4.5 million so that we could permanently endow a chair. These are some kids, middle school kids, building computers. And this is something we're working on now. We expect to break ground on that this summer. It's another building. This is much bigger than the previous building. It's a place where we can do our middle school academy. And the first 2 floors are all lab space, and the top 2 floors are residence halls. So we have 128 beds for middle school kids when they come on our campus, and then we can just take them downstairs and do hands-on science and engineering with them and keep them safe the whole time they're on our campus. Another thing that we're doing to institutionalize our work, and we've got philanthropic funds to send 4 of our key staff members off to Harvard for their professional leadership development program. And that's starting up in January. The first one goes off in January. And then this guy on the right, his name is Matt Calhoun. He's one of our alumni. And there's actually another alumni here, Michelle Yachmanev, who's doing a PhD in engineering education at Purdue. And we've reserved places for them on the faculty when they're finished with their PhDs and come back to Alaska. That was a major challenge because right now there's 40 engineering faculty in Alaska, and there's no underrepresented minorities on our faculty. There's 2 women, and 1 is a Chinese woman. And just this year, after 19 years of effort, we've managed to begin to get state general fund support to support our staff. We've had our budget's about $4.5 million a year, and $250,000 of that, $250,000 comes from AMP. And we've had to raise all that money every year to pay for our staff from philanthropic funds. There's a graduate school component. We've got 16 students enrolled in this right now. We've graduated 3 PhDs and 9, I think, master's degrees as of last May. And this shows our enrollment pattern since we started. There's right at 500 students enrolled in science and engineering right now. And these are students that come in with requiring no remediation. This is one of my fundamental rules. We're never going to get caught up in remediating students when they show up at the university. That's somebody else's job. And to get those students prepared, and they're not doing it, so we actually go back and get those students prepared before they roll into our university, and I'll talk about that more later. And this is our degrees. I feel so inadequate when I look at 16,000 bachelor's degrees, but there's only 100,000 Alaska Native people in the world. So this is something that's interesting. In 2007, 2010, we've had people come in and do external evaluation of the different pieces of the various components of ANSEP. And we require that students do certain things in order to be funded through our program. There's 4 things. One is that they come to a meeting every single week in a building that we built on our campus, and we eat pizza, and we have industrial people come in, and the students do presentations of what they do on their summer internships and research projects. So that's the first thing. Students have to complete 24 credits a year and get a 2.5 or better. Students have to work a summer internship with one of our partner organizations. And students have to come to organized study groups once a week for every single class they're enrolled in. And then they can get $1 through our program. We give them about 1/3 of the money that they need to attend the university. And the first time we did this, the thing that is ranking what students consider the most important aspects, they said, researcher came and said 95% of your students think the Friday pizza meetings are the most important thing. And I said, this person's crazy, you know? And it can't be right. And she said, no, we cross-validated it and used all that, you know, all the language of evaluators. And I said, okay. So we put it away, waited till 2010, did another evaluation with exactly the same, with a different group of students, and this time 100% of them said the most important thing. So I'm beginning to believe it's the most important thing, you know. So now we have, the Urban Institute has come in with a SWAT team of PhDs to evaluate exactly why things like this are true, because we're interested in understanding what happens in those Friday meetings, exactly what happens, and why students consider those so important. And that's it. Thank you.